Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard. I can't believe it, Chris. We're finally here. We're finally to the finals. So how much of a shot do you give the Heat?
A smidgen. Not a hit, not a dash, definitely not a scooch. A smidgen. That's it. No, look, the Miami Heat cannot beat the Los Angeles Lakers. For Miami to win this series, the Lakers have to beat themselves. They have to beat themselves by their role players going cold from the outside and not complimenting LeBron and AD. They have to beat themselves by missing free throws. They have to beat themselves by turning the ball over, which they did a lot during the regular season. Playoff Rondo has to revert into regular season Rondo, and Dwight Howard has to revert from being a locker room joy back to being a locker room cancer. That's what has to happen for the Heat to win, because they just can't beat the Lakers on their own. Now, what they have to do to help themselves is they have to get hot and shoot lights out from three-point range. They were the second best three-point shooting team in the league during the regular season. They haven't shot it well in the playoffs, but they better be lights out in this series. They have to out-hustle the Lakers. They got to get every loose ball, every 50-50 ball, battle them on the glass, kind of try to wear the Lakers down with their tenacity and their grit and their never-say-die attitude. I think that's what they did to Boston. I don't know. They can't do that to the Lakers. It'll be tough because of the Lakers' size, but they've got to try. And then finally, Eric Spoelstra, who came up with a defense, walling off the paint, that stopped Giannis. He came up with a defense, the zone, that bothered Boston. He has got to come up with something, probably a mix of those two things, to slow down LeBron James. Now, remember, when Spoelstra was coaching LeBron in 2013, and they beat the Spurs in 7 games, the first 3 games of that series, the Spurs had LeBron befuddled. LeBron averaged 16.5 points on 39% shooting in the first 3 games of that series. Then he figured it out, and they won in 7. Spoelstra should go back and watch that tape and see what they did to slow down LeBron and come up with some variation of. I know they had Tim Duncan. Can Bam Adebayo mimic Duncan to some degree? But those are the things they have to do to have a chance to pull off what will be one of the greatest upsets in finals history. I don't think it's happening. Lakers in 5.
I picked the Lakers in this series. I think the Heat deserves a lot of respect, though, because what they're doing, what they did to the #1 seed, it made it look easy in beating the Bucks. What they did to Boston, for the most part, it made it look easy. And Boston is a young and up-and-coming team. Their piece is going to be there for the foreseeable future. And so they're playing extremely well. And as you mentioned, they have not shot the 3 ball well in the playoffs. But when the rubber needed to meet the road, they shot the 3 ball well against the Celtics down the stretch. In all the games that they won, when they needed a 3 ball, Tyler Hero came up big. Dragic came up big. Duncan Robinson came up big. When they needed a 3 and they had to have it to quell any momentum that the Celtics were trying to run, they would snuff it out with the 3 ball. So they're more than capable. They'll hustle. They don't have a superstar, but they have players that fit that scheme that don't care who gets the credit. Jimmy Butler might shoot 20 shots one game and he might shoot 5 the next, because Tyler Hero has it going, because Dragic has it going. The difference that I see now is that while Spoelstra's going to have a tough time stopping LeBron, is because of that 6'10" monster that they got now in Anthony Davis. He's for real. I think he's answered the question, because everybody had, is he that dog? He's answered it. You saw what he did. He made mincemeat out of anybody he realized. It's going to be interesting to see him and Bam. It's going to be Kentucky on Kentucky crime, Chris. But I like our guy. And LeBron James knows he's close. He's in the finals of the 100 meters for the gold medal. 4-time champion. I'm right with my guy.
It's over. You got it. I already congratulated you.
I've been running.
So, Chris Broussard, I'm going to use a different word. You use smidge. I'm going to use my wife Ernestine's favorite word, which is drop. If I say, you feel better? She says, I feel a drop better. I give the Miami Heat a drop of a chance to win this series.
Not even a dab?
I think a drop's even smaller
It
than
is.
a dab, actually.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want you to give more respect than that, Skip.
I give them little to no respect. Chris, you've been covering this league for a long time. So have I. I know going back to my first go-around with covering the Lakers out here for the LA Times back in the 1970s, the first thing I was taught by Jerry West and then Pat Riley, you win in this league with stars. The Lakers have 2 superstars. The Heat have no superstars. That's the final score here. It's 2-0. I love Jimmy Butler. I love his guts, his grit, his leadership, but he's not a superstar. I love to watch Miami play basketball because they do play the right way. They play as hard as they can play every play. They share it. They make the right decision at the right time. And as Jimmy always says, it's not about stats or fame with us. And it's not. But to Chris's point, if you told me that for 7 games, the Heat could shoot 40% from 3 for 7 NBA title games, finals games, I'd say I would give you a shot in Game 7 to win it.
And you did get up a bunch of threes,
Okay.
too. You can't just shoot 10 over me, shoot 40%.
But you guys both know, when you get to the NBA Finals, that rim starts to shrink. And it starts to look like the size of a hole on a golf course, a little tiny cup that you're trying to shoot into. And Tyler Hero's going to go up for his first 3-point shot tomorrow night. That's the basket? It looks so big against the Celtics. It doesn't look big anymore. I don't think they can shoot 40%. I don't think they have much of a chance. Would I love to see a 6 or 7 game series? Sure, I would. Would Pat Riley like nothing better in the whole world than to beat LeBron James and to get some revenge on LeBron leaving him high and dry when he took his talents back to Cleveland? Yes, he would. And I would like to hear Chris speak on that. How much do you think the bitterness lingers, Pat Riley versus LeBron James?
Yeah, I was going to say, Skip, if there was, because people have compared this to maybe it could be Detroit over Shaq and Kobe in 04. Remember that upset?
Do I?
But that Lakers team was falling apart. Kobe obviously was going through his trial, in Colorado. Yeah. And that Lakers locker room was falling apart at the end of the Kobe-Shaq era. This Lakers locker room is together, and LeBron is focused. And he obviously is focused on getting his 4th ring. We know how important that is, getting that ring for the Lakers. So he's not that one superstar in LA that never got it done for the Lakers. All that's a factor. But, Skip, you hit it on the head. Miami and Pat Riley is the factor as well. We know how upset Riley was when LeBron left. Even before LeBron made his decision, I remember being at the old network talking about it on TV.
Yep.
Riley was making comments without saying LeBron's name where you could tell he was talking about LeBron. Do you have the guts? Do you have the fortitude to stick it out and stay here? And you knew he was talking about LeBron without saying his name. And there's the story that somebody in the Heat organization, most people think it was Pat Riley, told LeBron he made the biggest mistake of his career when he left Miami and went back to Cleveland. And, LeBron, we know he's a forgiving guy. He went back to Cleveland with Dan Gilbert. But he remembers, and he definitely remembers this, and he felt at times, in some ways, slighted by the treatment down in Miami. In some ways, I don't want to overstate it, but yeah, he would like nothing more than to bury the Heat in these finals. And that's why I don't think he's going to play around. I don't think he's going to, give them any life. Because, look, if it somehow got to a Game 7, anything can happen in a Game 7. All bets are off with that.
Skip.
So I think he's going to want to bury them early.
I think the thing that they could win this series if they shoot the 3 ball like San Antonio shot the 3 ball against the Heat if they shoot the 3 ball like that, Chris, all bets are off.
So my final point is.
Well, and the thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, think about how experienced that Spurs team was. And I mentioned the Detroit team in 04. Experienced. This Miami team is very young. Outside of Jimmy Butler, I mean, Dragic has got experience, But hero Duncan Robinson, who was playing Division III a few years ago, Bam. I mean, it would be historic if these young kids could beat the Lakers.
It would be impossible. If the NBA Finals were just one game for all the marbles, I would give the Heat a real shot, one game. But it's 7 games. It's just hard to beat 2 superstars 4 times when you don't have a superstar.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, we appreciate you joining us. I'm going to stick with Ernestine. I think a drop there. I think that's a good way to put this one.
Yeah.
We'll check in with you soon. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end for Carson Wentz in Philly? We have the details. Shannon, you're going to have to talk